Our story, our journey, our adventure. Our journey's been one of finding out what's important to God, rather than what we think we should be doing. It's asking God what we should be doing. So we started to read the Bible and do the Bible, and it started to mess our lives up totally and utterly. And we started discovering the Bible these new insights, which are most definitely not new. They're ancient scriptures and principles to live our life by. And the church, including myself, have forgotten them, avoided them or ignored them. We've given up meetings in church which our friends cannot understand, and we're trying to help them understand. And instead of inviting people to meetings, we've invited people to know Jesus and to become disciples. My journey has been, I went to church I'm 46 and I got saved when I was 22, and I was brought up in the Catholic church, and then I just started going to obviously a Christian church after that. And as the years went on, it wasn't enough. I was really bored in meetings. I felt like a school kid, just wanting to be distracted and wanting to go to the kitchen, and I felt like I was dying actually in it and suffocating. I felt like a bad person because of it. I felt like a rebel actually. And then, as Timothy said, we started reading and hearing stuff that people were saying the same thing, but not only were they saying the same thing, it wasn't like they were walking away from church, they were doing something different, because we thought at the time the only alternative was you leave church, and we couldn't do that because we were good Christians, so you just don't leave church. But God was gracious and we were released from the established church, and that was 8 months ago now, and I have fallen in love with Jesus like I did when I first met him. In fact, not quite as much, but I'm getting there. We moved to Coatbridge 15 years ago, and we'd prayed that before that we had commuted to church, but neither of us believed in that, so we prayed that God would take us to a place where we could be local church. So we knew when we came to Coatbridge that we were called here, and it has had a lot of bad names. Coatbridge, it's been called Bloatbridge, it's been called the Carbuncle, Buckfast Capital, which is a very bad drink. And when we hear these things, we get really excited because we think this is a mission field.
And we are now at that point where we're starting to talk to people about that and say, okay, do you want to meet Jesus? Do you want to know him? Do you want to read about him and tell us what you think Jesus is all about? Because it doesn't matter what we think about Jesus, it matters what the Bible says and what you think the Bible's telling you. So we're starting to do things like that, and it's starting to get interesting.
We've been here for 15 years, and before we even knew, I suppose, what it meant, Timothy and I used to go out alternative nights just for a walk, but we were prayer walking, but we didn't really call it that. We just went for long walks around Coatbridge and prayed, because that was our time for getting out and praying.
Now we try and be a bit more intentional. Jesus said go into all the world, not invite them to your thing, but go into their world. So I started about 3.5 months ago, and I just say, God, where do you want me to go on a Monday? We call it Mission Monday, and we just go out on a Monday and say, God, where do you want me to go? And so over the past 3.5 months I've been to the Shark's Mouth pub, Shunter's Bar, the Red Bridge pub, and occasionally the Heritage Bar. And I just go in and I go to McDonald's and walk about wherever else. And I just go in and I say, God, bring people here to me to speak to about Jesus. And I just sit and I smile and I drink, or I'm intentional about trying to start conversations if people want to talk, or just say things that leave things open. If people want to talk, they can talk. I try not to ram anything down anybody's throat, but if people ask me, why are you here? I say, I'm here because to find people who want to talk about Jesus, and if you want to talk about Jesus, I'm happy to talk about Jesus. And if you don't want to talk about Jesus, that's fine, we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. Some people say, well, what do you do for a living? And I say, I'm a missionary. Because we are all missionaries. Jesus spoke more than anything else, I'm led to believe. about the kingdom. And in the past I have not spoken about the kingdom, and I'm like, how could I have missed that? How could I have missed that most of Jesus' teaching focused around the kingdom? And I've had to start discovering what is the kingdom. The Bible says the kingdom of heaven is in you. So when I go into the bars and pubs and McDonald's and the town around about here, I'm taking the kingdom with me. So the drug addicts and the prostitutes and the people around about here that, you know, we're embarrassed about or we just don't want to talk to, I want to treat them the same way as I would the rich people and the business people and stuff like that. In fact, like Jesus, I usually find that the poor people and the addicts are much more open than the rich people, because us rich people tend to be a bit proud and think we've got all the answers when we don't even realise that we're just as wretched as everybody else. So what I want to establish the kingdom and be part of that process.